Welcome to Lisbon.
Lisbon is Portugal's unassumingly cool capital and Western Europe's oldest city that serves over 12 million tourists every year. Way back in 1755, the city was hit by a huge earthquake that destroyed 85% of buildings. The city had no choice but to rebuild itself, and the 18th century architecture that reshaped Lisbon is still very dominant today. In fact, if you come here, don't be surprised to spend most of your time looking up and admiring it as you wander through the fairy tale cobbled streets lined with iconic Portuguese tiles that have inspired artists for generations. Each building and street really does have its own personality. What's more, amongst this wealth of history is an eclectic city renowned for having colourful nightlife, tons of culture, music, and a cosmopolitan food scene that modestly boasts the best custard tarts on the planet. This city break is ideal all year round, with temperatures rarely going below 10 degrees Celsius in the winter and averaging 25 in the summer. It really does seem like Lisbon has it all, and we're here to show you why.
Coming up, we're going to take you through our top tips for 48 hours in Lisbon. From transport, things to do, places to see, lingo, and where to buy the best custard tarts in the city. We've done the research to save you time and help you have the most amazing trip. So let's start with how to get here.
The flight from London Gatwick takes just over 2.5 hours straight into Lisbon's only airport, which is conveniently just 7 kilometres from the heart of the city. The best thing about Lisbon Airport is it's only a 20-minute drive into the city centre. The easiest way to get in is to jump in a taxi or take the Aerobus. There are 2 lines running into the main hotel areas that cost €4 per person each way. Alternatively, you could take the metro that runs from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. every day, or there's always a city bus, but do expect both of these options to take a little longer.
Lisbon is known as the city of 7 hills. So to save your legs from all that climbing, you're probably going to want to use public transport at some point. Luckily, there are plenty of ways to get around the city, from train, tram, metro, bus, and even funicular lift.
The metro is a good choice if you're travelling long distances, but doesn't cover all areas of the city. It's one of the cleanest metros in Europe, and most stations are open from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. every day. Trams cover areas of the city where there's no access to the metro. There are 2 types of trams: the yellow Remodelado trams that route round the old narrow streets, and then there's the modern Articulado trams that operate along the flat sections of the city, connecting central Lisbon to the Belém district.
Lisbon has hundreds of buses and 88 different routes, so you're bound to find one to take you where you need to go.
The funicular lifts are used to help locals and tourists climb all those hills. The most famous lift is the Santa Justa lift, linking lower and upper Lisbon. Yes, it's technically a means of public transport, but it also doubles up as a major tourist attraction and has a great viewpoint at the top. We notice a lot of tourists jumping in tuk-tuks, and so we thought we'd give it a go. But it turns out the cobbled streets of Lisbon don't make for a comfy ride in a tuk-tuk, and if I'm honest, a 5-minute ride was a bit of a rip-off at €15.
Working out the best way to pay for transport in Lisbon can get confusing, so here's our simple breakdown.
The easiest way to pay for your travel is to pick up a Viva Vergem card. It works just like an Oyster card in London. Pay 50 cents for the card, then top up at the machines and ticket offices at metro stations. When topping up, you have 3 options. The first is to cover a single journey. The second is zapping. This allows you to load up to €40 to cover multiple trips. After 3 trips, this option becomes cheaper than loading singles. The last is to load a 24-hour pass. For €6.30, this will give you unlimited travel across Lisbon's public transport. Choose this option if you're going to take more than 5 journeys in a single day, or just taking the Stand Adjuster lift, which usually costs €5 alone. Just remember, you've got to swipe in on buses and trams and tap in and out on the metro. Easy. A good tip is to pick up a transport map from the tourist office in the Comercio Plaza. This will give you all the information you need for timetables and prices. I'd also recommend downloading Google Maps to help you navigate your way around without having to rely on Wi-Fi.
There's so much to see and do in Lisbon, and the chances are you're not going to have time to do everything. So here's our top 5.
If you want to experience local transport and see the city at the same time, then taking the number 28 tram kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It takes a circular route round the city and will also save your legs from a lot of walking. If you're in the centre of the city, then jump on the number 15 tram and head west to the Belém district and witness the Belém Tower in all its glory. The tower was built in the 16th century as a defence system at the mouth of the Tagus River and a gateway to the city. It's one of the few buildings that survived the earthquake and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You can find it by the harbour and it can only be reached by a walkway across the water. Access to the tower is from 10 a.m. and my advice is to get here early to avoid queuing. For panoramic views of Lisbon Castle, make your way up to the Jardim de São Pedro de Alcântara. Fortunately, you can jump on the Elevador de Gloria funicular lift to get there. Otherwise, it's a hefty walk. It's worth it though, because there are so many cute little market stalls and plenty of live music that go on through the evening. Treat yourself to a Portuguese custard tart known as a pastel de nata. You can find these everywhere in Lisbon, but if you want to try what I believe are the best in town, you have to head to the original cafe in Belém that sold them way back in 1837.
So yummy. So good. I'm just going to carry on eating these, so don't mind me.
Belém has queues outside every day due to their secret recipe only known to 6 people in the whole world. I was lucky enough to be invited on a tour of the factory located directly behind the shop. So of course I jumped at the opportunity to fashion a rather dashing hairnet and find out a little more about what makes these tasty treats so special.
And these ones you will only find at this shop, so this is the only place in the world where the pastéis de Belém are made and sold.
How many do you make a day?
We now make about 20,000 of these per day. But it's a very old recipe. It was invented in the monastery beside us, the Jerónimos Monastery. It was invented by the monks, and the recipe came out of the monastery around 1834. That's when the recipe was passed on or sold to a local businessman, and he started selling them at a small trading typical shop from the time that existed where our front counter is today. So this was back in 1837. A lot has changed, but one thing remained exactly the same, which is a recipe and the way that they're made, they're handmade, so that we kept exactly the same.
And are we allowed to know anything about the recipe, or you keep that one secret?
Well, the recipe has been kept a secret for 180 years, so there's not a lot I can say about it, except showing you the steps that are made after the chefs do the pastry and the custard. And what I can show you is what we make with both of those ingredients after the chefs do their magic.
And whilst you're in the area, it's worth heading next door to the Jerónimos Monastery itself to simply look up and witness some pretty spectacular architecture. End your evening with a drink in the Barria Alta area. The bars flood the streets with locals and tourists drinking Portuguese beer, mojitos and caprinis until the early hours of the morning. Lisbon is a cosmopolitan city, so you're going to be able to find every type of cuisine here. You'll probably stumble across many Tasca-style restaurants along the back cobble streets near the Barrier Alta area, and these will serve rustic Portuguese dishes like stews, steaks and fish. It's worth noting that restaurants don't tend to fill up until after 9 p.m, so if you're wanting to avoid the crowds, then head out for dinner a little earlier. But for something a little more quick and fun, I recommend checking out Mercado de Ribeira. This place has been Lisbon's main food market since 1892. A few years ago, it was taken over by the Time Out Lisbon magazine, who added canteen-style dining, selling anything from burgers to sushi and, of course, traditional Portuguese cuisine like croquettes. I learnt that these are one of the most popular and widely known Portuguese food dishes and can be filled with any type of meat, fish, veg and cheese combination, but the most traditional are croquettes de carne, or Portuguese beef croquettes. We chose to take a free walking tour with a company called Hi Lisbon to find out a little bit more about the city and learn some key Portuguese phrases to help us get by.
Okay, so let's start with the easiest word, hopefully. Hello.
Hello in Portuguese we say olá.
Hola.
Yeah.
I know that one.
Easy one, yeah?
Yeah. How are you?
How are you? We say como vai você?
Como
It's
vai
like a
você?
formal way.
Okay.
Or you can say tudo bem?
Tudo bem. Tudo bem. Tudo bem.
Yeah, easy.
Quite
yeah.
casual.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
casual, yeah.
Thank you.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
For men, and as a girl you say obrigado.
So men is obrigado, women is obrigada.
Very good, yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
but remember that. Yeah, that's the one word that stuck in my head a little bit, and I keep
right.
remembering to say that. But I didn't know that there was a male and female
Yeah, there's a
version.
difference. Yeah.
What's your name?
What's your name in Portuguese? We say como você se chama, which is the hardest way.
Como você se chama?
Very good. Or you can say qual o seu nome?
Cosmopolitan.
That's easier.
Yeah, it's that sh sound that I think I'm struggling with a little bit actually.
It's quite strong.
How do you count from 1 to 5?
In Portuguese, we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's kind of similar to Spanish.
No, many words are even the same. Sometimes some things are the way you pronounce a bit different.
Yeah.
But many words like por favor, casa,
Yeah.
amigo.
All the same.
Yeah.
Can I have the bill, please?
A conta, por favor.
Conta, por favor.
Very good.
Good morning.
Bom dia.
Bom dia. That's one you use a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bon dia.
That's very common.
Yeah.
Bom dia, you have to use a lot here.
It's welcoming and
Yeah, if you arrive anywhere and you say bom dia instead of saying good morning, I think
Yeah.
it's a good way. People will be more welcoming.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Goodbye.
In Portuguese, adeus.
Adios.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
an easy
the
one.
one. Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you very much.
My
It's
pleasure.
really useful.
Yeah, thank you.
The Portuguese currency is euros. There are plenty of cash points around and you can pay with debit and credit card in most places. Here's a look back at our costs to give you a rough idea of what you might expect to pay when you're here.
A return flight to Lisbon costs £246 per person. Our apartment for 2 nights costs £248. And the travel insurance with holiday extras costs £15 for the premium package. And this coffee, or what's left of it, costs €3. This pastel de Belém costs €1. Entry to the Belém Tower was €6. And this cocktail costs €4. The tipping is a thing in Portugal. Service charge is not usually added to bills, but do double check first, especially if you're in the more touristy areas. And just so you know, it's custom to give about a 10% tip at a restaurant. For up-to-date exchange rates, visit xe.com or download their app. And as our time in Lisbon comes to an end, don't forget to subscribe for loads more exciting travel guides.
I can safely say that Lisbon is one of my favourite cities in all of Europe. I've had such a great time just wandering around the little cobbled side streets, looking up at the mustard coloured buildings, and of course eating as many custard tarts as possible. So if you're looking for a city break, I highly recommend Lisbon. This is my 3rd time here and I can't wait to come back.